and she was unusually quiet as I entered the living room of our log cabin the day after a day at the newspaper. "What's up?" I said. "You look worried." "Nothing," she said, turning from me and moving toward the kitchen. "Oh, come on, Chris, let's not do the silent thing. What is it?" "What are we going to do about Jenny's Christmas?" she said sharply. "I can't see any extra money, not 1 cent. This will be the first Christmas she's aware of, and I know the other kids have been talking about it. She mentioned Santa today, and I didn't know what to say to her. I didn't even want to mention the wish list. I put off thinking about Christmas because I knew I would get mad at Christ for being born and hanging this financial burden around my head. You're looking to blame someone. You're looking to blame me for something else, Chris," I said. "I'm doing the best I can." The best I can was being a 24-year-old sports editor of Asheville's afternoon paper, The Times. It was a 35,000 circulation birdcage liner that was losing readers on a daily basis. It was a hotshot job as far as my buddies were concerned, but it would have been a much better gig for a single guy. In 1970, the days of 2 newspaper small towns were over, and I was on the edge of change, earning $90 a week. Most of that went to rent a log cabin in the Kenilworth section of Asheville, food, upkeep on a battered car, and Chris's school at UNC Asheville. She was a junior studying social work and occasionally worked as a telephone operator at night. Our 3-year-old daughter's Christmas didn't figure in that. In fact, Jenny's expenses in general didn't figure in much. My mother kept Jenny during the day because there was no way we could afford nursery, and most of her other needs were met with hand-me-downs. I went to bed that night without an answer. When I awoke the next morning, I had one. I rolled toward my young wife and blew in her face until she stirred. She said, and she smiled. "What are you doing awake? It's still dark outside." "I know what we can do for Jenny," I said. "It won't really cost anything, and I think she'll love it. It involves a refrigerator box, which I'll get at one of the furniture stores, that old watercolor set of yours, the curtains you'd set aside to give away, and a couple other things we can come up with." "What in the world are you thinking?" she said, the smile still there. "Today's Christmas Eve, and we're going to have to hurry if we're going to do anything at all that's complicated. That's the beauty of it. It's simple, and I think it's pretty elegant." I only had to work half a day, giving me time to make the rounds and pick up what we needed that afternoon. Chris was on break from school, but she was taking care of Jenny, so she couldn't do much other than decorate a tree, which I'd salvaged from a nearby elementary school when the Christmas break started. Jenny delighted in the shared time, and the two of them were giggling when I got home from work. "Did you get the stuff?" Chris said. I nodded. "Santa's coming," Jenny squealed. "He's bringing toys." She ran to me and sprang into my arms, wrapping up and hugging me. At 8 o'clock, with Jenny tucked in, storied, hugged, kissed, and snugged to sleep, Chris and I sat about the task at hand, building Jenny a house. I went out to the powder blue 64 Olds F88 and untied the refrigerator box from the top. I'd broken it down so it was flat. The box squared up, and I slid the cap back over the end to stabilize it. I entered the box with a carpet knife and cut out 2 4-pane windows and a door on the side and slipped the cap on the other end, creating a boxy, quite literally, house. Then Chris went to work with the watercolors, painting in flowers, shutters, a doorknob, patterns on the door. She even gave the front of the house a brick look. I pulled a small cable spool that I had salvaged at the power company from the back of the Oldsmobile and slipped it into the house. Chris covered it with a white bed sheet, and we put 2 pillows on the side of the table. Chris set cups and saucers at the table, and we would put out the cookies and milk just before morning. I had picked up a couple of dolls at the next to new shop downtown, the one that my mother frequented so often she was on a first-name basis with the staff. She had urged me for years to go in and see what was available, quote, for next to nothing. The dolls were nearly new, quite nice, and it cost 50 cents each. Chris put them in the house, setting them on the pillows at the school table. We looked at each other like we were in the middle of a plot to overthrow the government, grinned, laughed, and fell into each other's arms. We lay there just outside Jenny's new house in the light of the Christmas tree for hours until I awoke just before dawn. "Better put out the cookies and milk," I whispered. "Little feet will be padding down in just a bit." We went to our bedroom and quickly returned to sleep. Shortly, we were awakened by a squeal from a little girl discovering Santa Claus. We ran to the living room and saw a bright light, smiling face looking out the window of her house. Sarah came, she said. Thank you.